Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Can everyone hear me? Can somebody give me a signal? Thank you so much, Neelamani Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances, all of you. My sincere apologies for starting a bit late. There was a technical difficulty on the Zoom at my end, so I had to reset everything again so that everybody could join. So we are continuing from last Vyasa Puja session. Today will be the last session, part 2. And the whole idea of today's session is really, give everyone an opportunity to join the Vyasa Puja if they were unable to do so last time, and even extending it to some of the speakers that we wanted to hear from. So today's lineup really, it's a mixture of everything. We're going to have online kirtan. We've got some exalted devotees who's going to, great speakers who's going to get opportunities to speak. There's some wonderful offerings as well. I'm going to be playing some videos about Srila Prabhupada and also Guru Maharaj's. And then at the end, we'll finish off with Namaste prayers and the closure from Her Grace Krishna Purna Mataji. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask Neelamani Mataji to start the program. She's going to sing Shri Guru Ashtakam. Over to you, Neelamani Mataji. Right, you cannot unmute yourself, that's fine. That's deliberate, I've done that today. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'll start singing.
Thank you so much for joining, and
Sorry?
thank you so much for joining today and taking the request from us to sing this Guru Ashtakam. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Vande Guru Shri Mahaprabhu ki Nitya Deepa Parikrama Jnana Sura Sena Somanjakamba Shutaranga Vajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Shri Vigrahara Nityanana Shingaratannamachanado Yutasya Bharta Shankiratuti Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavata Sada Swadhana Krita Harivasanda Krite Varditi Vajata Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Shri Radhika Madhuryoda Mara Madhujalina Madhuvananga Vande Guru Shri Jagannath Nikunja Gunarati Devi Siddhai Layani Nidhi Apekshaya Natrati Dakshan Ati Valavasya Vande Guru Shri Jagannath Sakshatritena samasta shastre Yuktasthatmadina sarati Kintu prabhura priyayena tasya Vande Guru Shri Jagannath Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Yasya prasada Bhagavan prasado Yasya prasada Jayam sthitvam tasya Yasya sthitvam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda 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 Sansarga Vanavida Loka Pranaya Parinya Pranaya Pratasya Parinya Punanakasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda
Thank you so much, Grace Nilamali Mataji. Wonderful. You have a beautiful voice. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one swiftly because today we only have 2 hours for this program. So what I'd like to do now is to share the video of Founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Just give me 1 second.
Prijivite ache yata nagaradi gram sarvat.
What if one hot-selling Amazon product could replace your income and change your life?
Patra prachar hoibe mora nam. In every town and village throughout the world, the chanting of my holy name will be heard. This is the promise of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who inaugurated the present-day Hare Krishna movement. In previous ages, the process of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead with pure love was limited only to exceptional, qualified individuals. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a spiritual revolutionary, ignored social barriers created by birth and caste, by gender and ethnicity, and by political affiliation. His specific mission was to distribute the benefits of bhakti yoga across the entire earth planet. Mahaprabhu broke open the treasure chest of love of God and distributed it to anyone and everyone, without consideration of any material qualification. In other ages, spiritual advancement generally meant a gradual evolution across lifetimes, a slow and steady ascension of the yoga ladder, from Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga to Astanga Yoga, and finally to Bhakti Yoga. But for the most fallen people of Kali, Mahaprabhu presented a simplified and practical yoga system for speedy elevation to the topmost destination, far beyond the temporary material worlds. For Mahaprabhu's revolutionary movement to spread, it needed to be taken up by the acharyas, pure devotees who lead by their example. A disciplic succession from bona fide guru to disciple has existed across eons of time. Srila Haridas Thakur took up his mission, as did the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. Then came Srinivasacharya, Narottama Dasa Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In modern times, our disciplic succession continued on through Jagannatha Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaura Kishora Das Babaji, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our own merciful Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Before he disappeared from earthly vision in 1936, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur suggested that his disciples should collectively continue the mission of Mahaprabhu by forming a governing body for the management of his institution, the Gaudiya Math. Many disciples were confused, as Bhakti Yoga had always centered around a guru and his ashram. Some of his disciples questioned, what has a committee of managers to do with spiritual life? After all, a spiritual organization needs a spiritual head. These disciples decided to appoint one who apparently appeared to be the most exalted among them, to assume the position of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati now that he was gone. Unfortunately, that appointed Acharya had spiritual difficulty and fell down from his exalted position, and as a result, the wonderful spiritual institution created by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati crumbled and disintegrated. In 1953, Srila Prabhupada established the League of Devotees by himself at Jhansi. Even at this early stage, Srila Prabhupada had already placed himself in the background and the institution firmly in the foreground. He alone had understood the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In September 1965, at the mature age of 70 years, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami arrived in New York alone to fulfill the divine mission of his Guru Maharaj.
If you give me 50 seconds, I promise I will blow your mind. This product you see right here, this is a...
After some months struggling alone, Srila Prabhupada was able to set up a small center in a storefront at 26 2nd Avenue. Singing alone at Tompkins Square Park, some young boys and girls responded, and in this way, Srila Prabhupada started the Hare Krishna movement in the West. From the ruins of the Gaudiya Math, Srila Prabhupada carried the spirit of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada frequently invited his other godbrothers to join him, even offering to serve under their leadership once he had established the movement in the West, but he did not get a favorable response from them. Although struggling alone, only time was separating him from implementing Lord Chaitanya's vision. Srila Prabhupada had understood the essence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's formula for spiritual success as 1. A collective concept of management, and 2. A permanent spiritual head. Srila Prabhupada therefore established what would become the structure of the GBC, ISKCON's governing body committee, in July of 1966, when he legally incorporated the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Not only the lawyer who had volunteered to assist, but even Srila Prabhupada's small band of followers were doubtful about the vision of an international movement, when only a rundown storefront operating on a shoestring budget existed. Some suggested that the International Society for God Consciousness might be more appealing to the mass of people, But Srila Prabhupada insisted that Krishna is God. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the society must be called the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. By 1967, a second center had sprung up in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district. Lord Chaitanya's worldwide Sankirtan vision had blossomed into a powerful grassroots movement, and further temples were soon established in different parts of North America, Boston, Santa Fe, and Los Angeles. By 1968, centers were started in Montreal, London, and Germany. By July of 1970, there were 34 ISKCON preaching centers across several continents. In a document entitled Topmost Urgency, dated 1974, Srila Prabhupada clarified the position of the founder Acharya of Lord Chaitanya's mission in the West. He, the founder Acharya, is the supreme authority in all matters of the society. His position cannot be occupied by anyone else, and his name and title must appear on all documents, letterheads, publications, and buildings of the society. In the same document, the GBC's role as the instrument for the execution of the will of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, was also emphasized. By the time Srila Prabhupada left his earthly pastimes in 1977, he had established 108 ISKCON centers across the world due to his powerful faith in Krishna and his organizational vision. A self-effulgent Acharya does not appear in every generation, but a strong, united body of leaders, such as the GBC, can manage the society effectively by his mercy, whether he is physically present or not. The GBC has withstood the inevitable fall-downs and deviations of some powerful and charismatic leaders, and has continued the legacy of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regardless. United we stand, divided we fall. Some devotees in ISKCON have endured the pain of their spiritual master falling down, but many have been able to continue with their spiritual lives due to the collective managerial umbrella of the GBC and the ongoing spiritual shelter of the founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Although sometimes management is flawed and imperfect, without the GBC, ISKCON cannot continue to exist. The society would simply fragment into smaller and smaller independent mutts, each with its own fallible founder Acharya, fighting one another for disciples and land. It can be said that ISKCON equals the GBC plus the founder Acharya. Due to this spiritual formula of success, Lord Chaitanya's prediction of every town and village has already come true.
পৃথিবীতে আছে যত নগরাদি গ্রাম, as many towns and villages there are on the surface of the globe, সর্বত্র প্রচার হইবে মোর নাম. Lord Chaitanya says, everywhere people will know my name. This is the prediction of Lord Chaitanya.
So that was the founder Acharya's video. It's an amazing video, actually. I like to look at this. I mean, go through this video over and over again, just as a reminder, how ISKCON was formed and how Srila Prabhupada actually took the instructions from his own Guru Maharaj so seriously, and spread Krishna consciously, all over the world. And I count myself so fortunate to be part of this ISKCON body, and I've got so many God brothers and sisters. It's a wonderful video. Next, I'm going to play a audio recording which was forwarded to me by Her Grace Harsharani Mataji. It's a message actually from Bhakti Vijnana Maharaj, is speaking about His Holiness Bhakti Char Swami Maharaj. So I'm just about to play the audio.
Prashanji Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all praise to Srila Prabhupada. Several times I tried to send a message, condolence message to you and to your family, to Harsharani Mataji, about the sudden departure of His Holiness Bhakti. I see that Maharaj was not from this world. Really was not from this world. He was sent here for a special mission. So graciously and I saw one video when a black devotee from America was saying this, and he was right, that his mission was to unify ISKCON in the most difficult period of time. He did so many other wonderful things, but the most important thing, just by his presence, by his mood, by his words, by his behavior, by his love to everyone, he was this unifying principle. There is absolutely no doubt about it. He always said that it's GBC who kept ISKCON united, and that's true. But GBC kept ISKCON united only because there were such personalities in the GBC. And he was definitely one of the most important devotees in our movement. Anyway, I'm deeply, deeply, deeply grieved. I couldn't believe it. When Maharaj got ill, when he was admitted to the hospital, I thought, no, it's a very temporary thing. Nothing can happen. And I'm still convinced that nothing could happen if it was not the divine intervention. Anyway, I don't know if my few words can help, but I really wanted to express my love to Maharaj. And tomorrow I will speak in Russian about Maharaj. But for those few Russian devotees who are here. But in any case, my heart is with you and with all of his disciples, whom I know. He had so many disciples, especially in UK. Please, if you can, convey this message to them.
Hare Krishna. Once again, I don't know what's happening today. For some reason, my screens are not sharing the correct one. So apologies. I hope you managed to hear a message from His Holiness Bhakti Vignan Maharaj. So once, I'm going to swiftly move on because of the interest of the time. I'm going to ask Vrinda Vilasani and Rajesh Krishna Prabhu to do a kirtan for next 5 to 10 minutes, please. I'm just about to unmute your microphone. Krishna Prabhu, Mataji, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you
Yes.
hear us, please?
We can hear you, Mataji.
Okay, we'll just do Ohe Vaishnav Thakur offering to the dearest Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
Ohe, okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Namini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Namini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Namini Cheta Snigdha Cheta Shrupaneka Vagninam Charasputam Prabhupada Gata Prana Neve Bhakti Charupada. O he Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori
Vaishnava Thakur Dayare Sagara Edase Koruna Kori.
O he Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori.
Vaishnava Thakur Dayare Sagara Edase Koruna Kori.
Diya Pada Chaya Sadahi Amay Diya Pada Chaya Sadahi Amay Tumhara Charan Gauri. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara
Koruna Kori.
Jaya Begadomi Jaya Dosha Sodhi Jaya Begadomi Jaya Desha Sodhi Jaya Guna Dehutase Jaya Satasanga Dehohiyama Jaya Satasanga Dehohiyama Dosi Je Sangera Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Ekaki Amar Nahi Paya Bala Ekaki Amar Nahi Paya Bala Hari Naam Sankirtan mein Tumi Kripa Kori Shweta Bandhu Diya Tumi Kripa Kori Shweta Bandhu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Dhane Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. कृष्णा जीते पारो कृष्णा से तुम्हार कृष्णा जीते पार तुम्हारा शक्ति আছে আমি তো कंगाल कृष्णा कृष्णा बोली আমি তো कंगाल कृष्णा कृष्णा बोली भाई का पाछे पाछे ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा करी ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा करी ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा करी दियो पद छाया सदा ही आमाय दियो पद छाया सदा ही आमाय तुम्हारा चरण धूली ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा करी ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा करी जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय भक्ति जय भक्ति जय स्वामी जी गुरु महाराज जय भक्ति जय स्वामी जी गुरु महाराज गुरु महाराज जय 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 बोलो श्री श्री राधा गोकुलनंद भगवान जी की श्रीला श्री प्रभुपाद की dearest Guru Maharaj ki jai. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Her Grace Vindavilasini Mataji and His Grace Rajesh Krishna Prabhu. That was nicely done. It was one of the wonderful, bhajans written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Thank you once again. Next, I would like to invite His Grace Kartik Chandra Prabhu. He's a composer of Bhakti Swami's Ashtakam, which we had played during the last meeting. Prabhu, I'm just going to unmute your mic. Can you hear me? So I'd like to say a few words about Kartik Chandra Prabhu before I hand over mic to him. Kartik Chandra Prabhu was actually born in a traditional Vaishnava family who traced the Vaishnava roots going back to 14 generations. From an early age, Prabhu, he received training in Sanskrit grammar and devotional scriptures. He had first-hand experience of Vaishnava tradition and culture as a part of his upbringing. He met ISKCON devotees in 1993 and has been associated with ISKCON since then. He holds BEng honors and postgraduate qualification in software engineering and project management. He works in a management role at one of the largest multinational software companies in the world. Srimad Bhagavatam is actually Kartik Chandra Prabhu's favorite literacy work. He is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and he's a Sanskrit scholar. A lot of people actually know him for his wonderful presentations on Srimad Bhagavatam. He attended one of the retreats with our Guru Maharaj, and he developed a very close relationship with Guru Maharaj. So I'm going to ask him today to share some memories that he had spent with Guru Maharaj today. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for coming and giving your time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Are you
Yes,
able to hear
Prabhu.
me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanaya, Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine. Okay, thank you for inviting me. Krishna Govind Prabhu and a few others were requesting me to speak a few words on His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. I first met Bhakti Charu in 1990, and I developed closeness with him in 1996 during the Prabhupada Centennial, which is when Maharaj was, offering one of the most important tribute. And that tribute was the Abhay Charan series that all of us have seen. And then fast forward many years, I moved to the UK, and ever since, Maharaj has been extremely kind towards me, and I have no words for expressing his kindness, because it was just honestly very causeless. As the book, his biography says, Ocean of Mercy. It's a very appropriate title, because that's how he was. So as Prabhuji was mentioning, I attended a retreat in Croatia in 2015. And that time I was given the service of massaging His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. And Maharaj was speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam. I think many of you were there for that retreat. And one day, on the 12th of May, 2015, 12th of May, in the afternoon, they asked me if I could come and massage him. And Maharaj would call me every single day for about an hour and 20 minutes. I would massage him till practically he would relax and kind of doze off. So I had a lot of proximate service, but also interaction. While I would massage him, he would ask me questions. I would talk. He liked to speak. Sometimes he would not speak if he was exhausted, but most of the times he would speak. And on the 12th of May, 2015, the interaction I had with him, I told him, Maharaj, because he asked me, how do you find the retreat? How are you finding it? And I said, Maharaj, I have no words. It is wonderful. And Maharaj, all of your disciples, they are so sweet, I said. And immediately Maharaj said, and all of your God brothers are also very sweet. And then I told Maharaj, your disciples are sweet because they have taken your mood. You are so sweet. And Maharaj immediately replied back, you are also very sweet, Karthik Chandra Prabhu. And then I immediately, although, I'm much junior, there's no comparison, just out of love, instantly I happened to blurt out, Maharaj, that is because I'm your disciple. And when I said that, there was silence. And I was wondering, what did I just say? And Maharaj didn't say something. He was just quiet for like 3-4 seconds. And then I continued. I said, isn't that right, Maharaj? I'm also your disciple. And I was massaging his feet. So as I was massaging his feet, I was seated and he was sitting on his, they had this bed, and he was seated with his hands like that and looking at me. And he said, yes, of course, you are my disciple. Then he said, the uncle is more merciful than the father. And then he would always hug me when I would leave. When I would enter the room, he would hug me. And then when I would leave, he would hug me. And many such interactions. And the same day evening, on the 12th of May, there was another interaction which was very, very interesting. So after giving the class, Maharaj was very tired that day. I think he had a little bit of pain in his shoulder, left shoulder. So I was focusing on that area. And then after doing that, he said, now you can do the back. While I was doing the back, Maharaj said, so what's your favorite verse? He asked me. And I, in 2015, 16, I was memorizing a lot of verses from Bhagavatam. But there was one verse which is not from Bhagavatam, which came to my mind at that point, and which has been my favorite verse for many, many, many years. And that verse is from the teachings of King Kulashekar in Mukundamala Stotra. The verse goes something like this: Mad janmanah phalamidam madhukaita bhare mad prarthaniya mad anugraha esha eva tvad bhritya bhritya paricharaka bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya itimam smara lokanatha. The meaning in essence is that King Kulashekar is saying, my dear Lord, when I leave this body, the only blessing I want is that when I leave this body, please remember me as the servant of 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 your servants. 7 times. 7 times separated. So when Maharaj heard this, Maharaj was very, very pleased. He said, that is the mood. And he said, you have the right mood. And I asked Maharaj, what do you think of this verse? So we used to have interactions. So I asked him, Maharaj, what do you think of this verse? And what Maharaj said was so profound. He said, I also think of this verse, but I think of this verse in relation with Srila Prabhupada. He said, the only prayer I have is on that day when I leave, the Lord considers me to be the servant of 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 Srila Prabhupada. And that, the way he spoke, and he was looking right into my eyes. And for a moment I stopped massaging because I was doing his left arm, I think, and he had his head, and he was looking at me, and he spoke this, and I stopped massaging. And Maharaj said, why did you stop? So that I continued massaging him. And it struck me so deeply that Maharaj's mood is so much aligned to Srila Prabhupada. It's not just superficially aligned, but it's just his whole life is a celebration of his being Srila Prabhupada's follower. That's what his life is. And so the following day, when I was asked at 12, just after lunch, I think Maharaj gave the morning class, then there was lunch, and just after lunch, somebody came running and said, I think it was Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu who came along with another devotee, and Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu said, come on, Guru Maharaj is asking for you. So I said, Prabhu, can you give me 15 minutes? I have something I've been thinking. I want to write something. He said, no, you can write later. I said, no, I must write it because I'm inspired. So I wrote 8 verses. It was spontaneously composed. And since that morning, I was contemplating that when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was overwhelmed by Mahaprabhu's qualities. And instantly, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya spontaneously, he composed this verse, Navagauravaram. That particular verse and the meter, it's called Totaka in Sanskrit. It goes something like this. Na 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 na. That's the meter. So it's such a sweet meter. Guru Maharaj is so sweet. Bhattacharya Maharaj is so sweet. So I was inspired, and I almost spontaneously composed the prayer. And in 20 minutes, I just wrote it down, and then I was there with Maharaj. And after doing the massage, and we discussed a few things, I won't take more time on this call, but there's so much to share. But then at the end of that massage, I said to Maharaj, and this is the first time I called him Guru Maharaj. He said, he responded to me, I said, Guru Maharaj, I want to present this prayer that I've written. So I didn't say it was composed in Sanskrit and it was in this meter and all that. And he said, sure. And he sat up. He adjusted his Brahmin thread. He sat up and then he said, read it out. And I read it out. And I read out the composition. And after each verse, he said, and what's the translation? And then I translated it. And he was just beaming. His eyes were lit up. He was smiling. Initially, I was a little worried. What would he say? But he was very, very pleased. And I had the privilege to read it out to him in person. And then he said, this is very nice, very sweet. Thank you very much. And I said, Maharaj, I would like to share this with some devotees. And he said, you may share it with some of my senior disciples, but not with everyone. But maybe later, you may share it with everyone. When they want to share it, they will share it with everyone. So Bhakti Prem Maharaj, Bhakti Prabhu Maharaj, these devotees, I shared it with them immediately almost on email. And Maharaj personally authorized this Ashtakam. He authorized it because he said, I really like how you have summarized my entire life in these 8 verses. And I said, Maharaj, these 8 verses capture your life, your entire life, and your mood. And he was very, very deeply happy, and he embraced me. He also said, in a very joking manner, he said, so your Guru Maharaj named you Kartik Chandra Das. In his Bengali accent, he was saying Kartik Chandra Das. But he said, he should have given you the title Kartik Chandra Kabiraj. He was just joking because I composed the poetry. So I was in tears when I was singing this to him because it was just an offering out of love. And Maharaj acknowledged it, accepted it. And later on, Bhakti Prem Maharaj said that Maharaj approved of it and authorized it as well when he spoke to Bhakti Prem Maharaj later on when Maharaj went to Ujjain. And ever since, Maharaj has been so kind, overwhelmingly kind. When I was suffering with coronavirus in March and April, and I couldn't breathe and I was almost about to be hospitalized at the same time when Rameshwar Prabhu and everyone else was deeply affected. Many devotees called me, and one such great personality that called me and had a video conference with me was His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. He was so kind. So, not only was he preaching about how ISKCON is one and unity is so important. And as Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj just said, unifying everyone is so important. Maharaj actually practiced it. He did not discriminate disciples and disciples of his god brothers like me. And that love and that affection was just overwhelming. The fact that he called me when I was suffering, I had no words. And he spent about 20 minutes on the call with me, on the video call. So that kindness, that ocean of mercy, that's what he is. So these 8 verses, and I don't intend to sing them because we don't have time. And I think it was sung yesterday. You've already done that. So the first verse speaks about his appearance and his early days. The second verse talks about the service he rendered to Srila Prabhupada after meeting him for the first time. The third verse talks about how he took initiation on Gaur Purnima and dedicated his entire life as Guru Dakshina. The fourth verse talks about the 3 important instructions that he repeated again and again, even on the Croatia retreat of 2015. He repeated these 3 instructions again and again. The fifth verse talks about the contributions he made, the translation of Bhagavatam in Bengali, which is done like a marathon, at a marathon pace, and the Abhay Charan series that he did for Prabhupada in 1996. And then the 6th verse talks about how he was always absorbed in his mood of service, and he opened Madan Mohan Mandir in Ujjain, and in 9 months it was all opened, it was all done. And also how he was, 7th verse talks about how in all his interactions he was so sweet, he was full of sweetness. And the 8th verse is the essence of all that was said before in the first 7 verses. And the 9th verse was my personal prayer, which is essentially saying, please give me the boon of being your servant. And that is the only thing I ask. And if you now know the background, you know how it started with Maharaj asking me the question about the favorite verse, which I quoted King Kulashekhar's verse, which is servant of the servant separated 7 times. And how Maharaj placed himself 7 times separated from Srila Prabhupada. And this Ashtakam, which was offered to him on the 13th of May 2015, was actually with the same mood and written in the same 9th verse, which is the last verse of the prayer, says, in the same mood, that may you give me the boon that I can be connected to you by being your servant and the servant of your servants. So thank you very much for inviting me. I was personally very deeply affected by this loss of. So thank you very much for inviting me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, His Grace Kartik Chandra Prabhu Ki Jai. It was a wonderful presentation from you, and it was genius work, I must admit, for composing, the Ashtakam that you've done with Guru Maharaj as well. I wish I could give you more time, but we are limited today. But next time I'm going to take on and I'm going to give you more time to tell us more, memories that you've shared with Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for coming today. Hare Krishna Prabhu. So next, I would like to request Neelamadha Prabhu. Neelamadha Prabhu, I'm going to unmute your mic. Right, Neelamadha Prabhu, can you hear me?
Haribol Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for joining us today. So Neelamadha Prabhu actually joined ISKCON in 1985, and he moved into Bhaktivedanta Manor 5 years later. Since then, he has been deeply involved in the community's congregational development, and currently he's weddings director and registrar. He's performing lots of other, functions as well. He's a chief financial officer, temple funeral director, and he also manages the estate and legacies. He's a legacies manager. In addition, he sits on a number of temple committees, including senior management, patron working committee, patron council, temple council, festival committee, and as an invited guest to the trustees committee as well. So we are extremely fortunate to have Neelamadha Prabhu here with us to share some memories of Guru Maharaj for the offering that you would like to read. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastade Shrimate Bhakti Charu Swami Tinamnesh Tadai Chakra Sucha Rasputam Prabhupada Gata Prananaimi Bhakti Charu. Dearest Guru Maharaj, we have indeed been most fortunate beyond measure for the personal association and physical presence you have so mercifully given us for now over 33 years. The instructions, affection, guidance, unconditional love that you have so generously awarded us has truly been overwhelmingly inconceivable for us to comprehend. It is now in separation of your Vapu that we can somewhat appreciate, more so than before, the value of your divine association. No doubt, there shall always be the regret of failing to maximize that special association of yours when it was so openly and willingly given by you. Over the years, Guru Maharaj, there have been many memories of joy, satisfaction, comforting, and together with sorrow, turbulence, challenging, and testing times. The most memorable and striking period for us is certainly the traveling which we were able to do with you, and the most relishing and cherishable had been during the May of 2005, when we were most fortunate in traveling with you for 23 days in Mauritius and South Africa. During this period, we truly were experiencing your divine presence 24/7. This particular pilgrimage with you had become a very sweet, educational, spiritual, and most rewarding experience. During the time of just over 3 weeks, we traveled extensively, and you had exposed us to many of our God brothers and sisters, many of whom we had the pleasure of meeting for the first time. It was so pleasing for us to stay in the spiritual homes of so many devotees, and as always, you had made the best possible arrangements for us, both travel and accommodation. Being with you and so many devotees had become an absolute unique period for us. Most memorable had been the incredible prasad, a vast variety of different dishes, and on many occasions, Guru Maharaj, you would cook, thus personally teaching us. At that time, you would relish Italian cuisine, the spaghetti bolognese, the pizzas, the amazing pizzas you cooked, had for us been the best. We had never tasted such prasadam, purely Italian. When we were traveling from Johannesburg to Petersburg in South Africa, we had received a full police escort due to your presence, Guru Maharaj. Such memories had been indeed abundance, to which we are most grateful and appreciative. Other rewarding times were the patrons' India pilgrimages from 1994, 97, 99, 2001, 2004, and after completing the 2006 Yatra, due to your blessings and mercy, we were fortunate to have our son Gauranga Das, who then became our principal service in Krishna consciousness as per your direct instruction. We were so very blessed to receive your call, Guru Maharaj, on Monday, the 25th of May this year, shortly before you traveled to America. Little did we know that this would be our final conversation with you. You were so concerned of our health, asked continuously that, are you now out of danger, meaning out of the virus? We had asked you, Guru Maharaj, that is there anything we can do? What should we be doing? And you kindly responded by saying, what you've done, you carry on. You carry on serving Srila Prabhupada's man and never give up. These were your final words to us, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for those final instructions. That telephone conversation will always be with us, your eternal servants. Neelamarav Das, Haripriya Devi Dasi, and Gauranga Das. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, His Grace Nilvada Prabhu, for sharing such a deep, heartfelt presentation that you've given. We can all relate to that. was a wonderful, wonderful offering. Thank you so much once again. Next, I would like to request His Grace Naveen Krishna Prabhu to read out your offering. Prabhuji, I've just unmuted your mic. Hopefully you can hear me as well. So, short introduction about Naveen Krishna Prabhu. He's a wonderful devotee. Normally, I call him as a very quiet devotee, but he's such a wonderful devotee. So Naveen Krishna Prabhu is the Chief Executive of Avanti Schools Trust. His previous experience encompasses CEO and director roles across the exploration, investment banking industries, and a broad business strategy background gained as a result of working for 2 leading management consultancies. He's a published author. Prabhuji has an MBA from London Business School and an undergraduate degree from University of London. He's a deputy lieutenant with Great London Lieutenancy, and he's awarded an OBE in the Queen's Birthday Honours List of 2018 for services to education. So thank you for being with us, Prabhuji. Over to you.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Chara Swami Nityanamine Signata Supneta Vaganam Charasaputam Prabhupada Gata Prana Namni Bhakti Chirupadam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Deshadane. I'm just going to read out my offering, which is called Now That You Are Gone. We were frivolous boys receiving post-grad lessons at your lotus feet. The topic did not matter to us, happy lounging around in shade as treat. But you were planting seeds of faith and so had important things to say about Ragatmika Bhakti, or the commitment of our souls, pointing the way. And, of course, about our glorious spiritual grandfather, on whose every glance or word you hung your life air further, just mention of whose name caused you to swell with pride replete, and without whose name no conversation was complete. After 1977, impersonalism and voidism worried you all too soon, especially that which looked to eclipse the Prabhupada moon. Not just another guru, here is the founder, the liberating Acharya. But some say just a guru, like any other Ashraya. Some try to reduce him to just another, and that's when you shone. And what if again this scepter rises, now that you are gone? But planted seeds eventually sprout, sometimes even on arid ground. What of seeds planted on the fertile soil of hearts full of sacred sound? Your many legacies speak for themselves. This one speaks loudest to me, safeguarding your master's position, enshrining it for all to see. Faith you bestowed so we would not wander, the ISKCON family held together by our illustrious leader. I know Guru is one, but I still see two, Vapu and Vani not yet merged. The distinction is subtle, yet so painfully diverged. We will try as you showed us, but we're just silly boys who want to strive, now that you are gone from our eyes, but not our lives. Your insignificant servant, Naveen Krishnadas. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, His Grace Naveen Krishna Prabhu, for your wonderful offering. We are all feeling the void actually in our hearts. I can see that on the video here. But remember, Guru Maharaj is still with us in our hearts, and will always remain in our hearts forever. Thank you once again. Next, I would like to play a video which was prepared by His Grace Krishna Govinda Prabhu. He's prepared a wonderful slideshow